Welcome in. It is the Sparky Fiver with you. Charlie using other side of the glass across from me. Wisconsin Sports Daily, as you just heard, broadcasting live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Looking forward to today's show. We're going to have friend of the show, Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter, on coming up here at 3:20. Looking forward to talking to him as we get ready for Packers and Broncos. That game comes up on Sunday afternoon in that second window of 3:25 start, whatever it is. And then after that one is done, we'll have the Green Bay football postgame show powered by Lakeland University with Tommy Wirtz and myself on Sunday. Looking forward to doing that. We'll hear from Matt LaFleur coming up during our Green and Gold update. He talked earlier today, commented on a bunch of different things that we can hop into as well. There will be some Giannis conversation in the first hour and the third hour a little bit. We'll get to some Badgers, get to some Brewers, and of course, the Green Bay Packers. And that, of course, is where we start today. I was listening earlier today to Inside Wisconsin Sports, and they had Green Bay Phoenix head coach Doug Gottlieb on. If you missed that interview, you can go and listen to it again anywhere where you download your favorite podcast at for Inside Wisconsin Sports, or better yet, just go to wisportsradio.com. Can hear all the show podcasts right there in one place, wisportsradio.com. And Josh Albrecht and our guy, Trevor Thomas, both were talking to Gottlieb, and Josh brought up a question about peaking too soon, and they're playing really well, but it's going into week 15. Is this the right time? All that stuff. And Gottlieb pretty much said, hey man, this whole thing of peaking too soon or whatever, he's like, as a coach, you want to peak. That is the goal, right? To have a great game, to have back-to-back great games. That's what you're always striving for. So whenever that happens, good or bad, that's what you want to see as a coach. And if you talk about the Milwaukee Brewers, you could say, if you believe in that peaking too early stuff, that they peaked too early, I guess you could say, by getting hot at the end of July and then in the month of August, and they had their 14-game winning streak and all of that. And then they cooled off towards the end of the season and got beat in the playoffs after they beat the Cubs, thankfully. But they kind of went cold against the Dodgers offensively, and that was the end of it. So here we sit with the Green Bay Packers coming off of that win against the Chicago Bears. They've now won 4 in a row. Broncos coming in having won 10 in a row. And I don't know if they're having this conversation in Denver about, really whether or not they think Denver is peaking too early or anything like that. And that's not really the question about whether or not this team is peaking too early. The question is this: how much better do you think they can actually play at this point? How much better do you think this Packers team actually can play than they are playing right now? Now, I'm not, this is not an if come maybe question. Well, they'd be a lot better if they had Tucker Kraft. No. With what they have on their roster right now for the Green Bay Packers, when you start talking about, okay, now they're playing at their best, right? This is what it looks like. How do they get to another level from where they're playing at right now? Because offensively, I would say this is about as good as they've looked offensively all year. They look pretty good offensively here the last couple of weeks against the Lions and against the Chicago Bears. But how much better do you think this team can really look here before you go, okay, now they're at their peak. They're playing at their absolute best. This is what it looks like, Sparky. What do you need to see to get you to that point? Nicolay Law Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Watch us streaming live on X and on YouTube, WI Sports Radio. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Charlie Usen, what do you need to see to convince you that, okay, they are now playing at their peak? Because I think there might be some people listening right now might be listening to Wausau or Duluth and maybe going, Sparky, I think they're there now. Like, I don't know how much better they can really get. This is probably as good as they are right now, what we're watching.
I think I'm kind of in that boat, if I'm being completely honest. The only thing I could see is, like, maybe turn some of those pressures into sacks, Micah Parsons, and that's a perfect game. They turned the ball over in that last game. Micah Parsons and the rest of the defensive line had great pressure. It just resulted in only one sack. I would like to see that kind of tick up a little bit more for him, and that would have to also involve the referees calling holding sometime on the offensive linemen that are going up against a Micah Parsons. But I think that the teams that you're playing over the next few weeks are all going to have quarterbacks that maybe aren't great athletes, but know how to escape the pocket a little bit. Bo Nix knows how to escape the pocket when needed. Caleb Williams, you saw that last week. You can't bring that man down in the backfield. It's almost impossible. And then Lamar Jackson, if he's healthy playing in that game, that's going to be impossible too. So this is a situation where if they can be more sure tacklers behind the line of scrimmage from that defensive line group, that's something that I'd be really excited to see. Outside of that, I mean, the offense looks fantastic and the defensive backs look fantastic. There's nothing to complain about.
It wasn't the exact thing necessarily as far as how much better they can play. But Jordan Love, he was pretty excited yesterday about this team on Pat McAfee's show on ESPN.
Can you tell us about your Packers team this year and why you look like best team in ball? Maybe I don't want to dive into that, but best team in ball. Why this year and why this team? You think, Jordan?
Man, we got a squad. I think that's been something that we've been building, and the past 2 years we've kind of been stacking this thing and kept getting better and better. But we've added some pieces to our squad, and it's all about, like we mentioned, just finding ways to play our best ball. We've had some games where we've not played to our standard, and then I think this past couple of weeks we've been just elevating. But I think all of it is part of that Toyota-thon magic where you just start playing your best ball in the second half of the season.
Do you think players in that locker room believe in and buy into Toyota-thon? I mean, fans do. Clearly, we're all nuts, right? But that's why we're fans. We're fanatics. I get that part. But do you think, like, the wide receivers, like, oh, Jordan's going to take a step now. Here we go. Jordan's about to get hot. I better catch these damn balls to make sure, right, that we keep this thing going with Toyota. Like, do you think players buy into that? Because there are a bunch of athletes that are very, very superstitious now. Normally that comes in baseball, but I think it comes across a bunch of different sports.
Maybe not directly the idea of Toyota-thon, but just the fact that Jordan Love finds his groove in the second half of the season right around this time every single year, right around that Thanksgiving
3 years in a row.
point. He just is able to kind of click it all into place. And I think they realize that and notice that. I think the other side of things is, the players may be buying into that, but again, another season in a row where this feels like the healthiest this offense has been, and you're still down one of your best players in Tucker Kraft and Elkton Jenkins as well. You are out on the field with all the weapons you have, with the playbook fully opened at this point in the season, and you can see Jordan Love flourishing in that. I think throughout the first halves of the past 3 seasons, you've seen the Packers just try to find their groove and where they need to go. I think moving forward here, the Toyota-thon thing may not matter because Jordan Love should be comfortable in the first half of seasons too.
Right. I think we start talking about how much better do you think this Packers team can play? And that's what we're asking you right now. Simple question, right? Maybe you think they're at their peak right now. It doesn't get much better than this. Or maybe you think there are things you'd like to see different. Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Also can comment on YouTube and X at WI Sports Radio, and the dugout chat over there. Our guy Charlie Houston can read those. The first thing I say that I need to see before I'm in on this is scoring early and often in football games more consistently. They have not done that, and that is something that has to get better. Like, the scripted plays part of this has to start resulting in touchdowns. There for a minute, the Bears, like every week, would throw up points to begin games, and then their offense would get sidetracked and lost after they got through the scripted part. So they were kind of having the exact opposite effect with their offense. They have to figure out how to jump on and get early leads. And you start talking about the Denver Broncos this week, who, are king of the hill with sacks by like 11 or 12 over the second place team. I think they've got like 55 sacks. Browns, I think, have like 44, and they're in second. So it's not close. Protecting Jordan Love is everything. Well, how do you protect Jordan Love? You get a lead. You sit on a lead. Now there's got to be a threat of a run and running the football and so forth. Jordan Love is down 14-0. Everybody in the world knows you got to start throwing. He's a sit and duck. So you do not want to be in that situation. So what do I need to see before I'm convinced they're there? Number one, first is get off to fast starts. Number two is that this Packers run game gets to be consistent. right? Where I can look at the box score every week and go, Josh Jacobs, 4.5 yards. Josh Jacobs, 5 yards. Josh Jacobs, 4.3. Josh Jacobs, 5.5 yards. And getting 15 to 20 carries and doing that. Now, he wasn't on the practice field today. I'm not sure how severe that is. It's only Wednesday. Don't overreact. But when we look at Josh Jacobs and what he brings, or if you look at Emmanuel Wilson, what he brings to the table, or whoever is back there, Chris Brooks, to be able to run the ball and have that be a legitimate threat against a defense, need to get there. Hasn't been there first half of the season. Need to get going here in the second half of the season. That's number 2. Number 3 on my list, Rashawn Gary. If you're listening, can you hit the quarterback a couple of times? That'd be cool. Thanks. You get like 7 sacks in the first few weeks of the year, and now we're just sitting around, can't get home. And I understand. Whoa, he gets pressures. Whoa. I mean, Charlie said, hey, Micah Parsons converts the pressures into sacks, but Micah Parsons' pressures are converting into other people's sacks, right? So you could see that. Rashawn Gary, man, come on, dude. Like, where is that stretch here? There has to be another stretch in Rashawn Gary to where you can go get me 5 or 6 sacks over 2 or 3 games here. Like, that is another part of this that you really need to find here. Because if you come to the line of scrimmage and go, okay, there's Micah, and Rashawn's been playing well, we better keep an eye on where he is, too, at this same point. That, I think, is another aspect. Right now, there's one legitimate pass rusher. That's all I can say. There's one. You need 2. That's what you would like to have is 2. Rashawn Gary needs to ramp it back up again and start getting home.
And you said there has to be another stretch in him. I don't know if there is. We've seen this with Rashawn Gary. Last season, it was the opposite. He started off the whole entire first half of the season as an unknown. And then the second half of the season put up 8 sacks just out of nowhere because he finally got into that groove. At this point in the season, I don't expect him to get any more kind of pressure than what he's getting right now or converting it into sacks at this point, because that's what Rashawn Gary is. What I am excited about is a guy like Lucas Van Ness coming back, who started off the season really well before getting hurt, and Kingsley Enagbare getting a sack in that last game, and the defensive tackles that you're seeing rotating around being able to get their own kinds of pressures. It's kind of like the wide receiver room when we were talking about that yesterday with Romeo Doubs and whether or not he's kind of getting phased out and his production slipping. If other guys are going to step up in situations like against the number 1 team in the NFC and the Chicago Bears this past weekend, Kingsley Enagbare, then those guys are going to step up, and you kind of have to start moving on and figuring out other solutions or other rotations. This is a situation where if Rashawn Gary isn't going to step up, somebody else will.
You know, that's the part about it is looking at somebody else, like you mentioned, Enagbare. If Gary's not going to do it, somebody else has to step up and be that guy. That's fair. Or you can force it if you're Jeff Hafley and say, we're going to blitz more. Like we're going to provide the help to Micah Parsons by blitzing a safety or blitzing a corner or bringing more pressure maybe than we normally do to provide that. Because you do want that quarterback to feel as uncomfortable as possible. This defense has been really, really good. I'm not banging on the defense. The question is, how much better do you think the Packers team can play? I think Rashawn Gary can play at another level than he's played at right now. Maybe you look at Enagbare and go, I think he can play at another level. I think Engbare's been pretty solid for most of the year, even though he's only has a couple of sacks. But somebody else or a group of people have to be able to get back to that quarterback on a more consistent basis. And then obviously the fourth thing is these street free agents they're picking up to play on the line. One of these dudes has to have an impact as far as, okay, man, we found our guy that's going to play a bunch of snaps and that's going to stop the run and might occasionally get home. They need one of these cats to work out and help them. Like what happened with Green on the Magic Carpet Ride year back in the day with Aaron Rodgers when you had 16 or 17 guys on the injured list. You need to find one of those guys to work out for the Green Bay Packers. And, you know, hopefully that happens here at some point. We're going to switch gears coming up next and turn our attention to Chris Haynes and what he said last night about Giannis. And I know it's been talked about on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network today, but I'm just kind of curious about something. If anybody was really, truly listening closely to Chris Haynes, because I want you to listen closely to what Chris Haynes had to say. That's coming up next. It's that time of year, the sing-songy family gathering baked goodsy season. Wendy's went and made the Frosty of your holiday dreams. It's a Snickerdoodle Cookie Frosty Fusion made with swirls of sweet, gooey Snickerdoodle sauce and chunks of cinnamony Snickerdoodle cookies. It's full-on cookie nostalgia. So preheat those mouth ovens because the Snickerdoodle Cookie Frosty Fusion is here. And it's seriously delicious. The iconic Frosty mixed with sweet Snickerdoodle cookies. It's got to be Wendy's. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Coming up on Friday, December 19th, Ziegler Subaru of Kenosha presents Brat Bowl 3 at the world-famous Brat Stop in Kenosha, an all-day live event starting at 9 a.m. with 670 The Score and the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, featuring all your favorite on-air talent. Plus, bring your new or gently used codes to donate to Ziegler Subaru of Kenosha's annual coat drive. It's Brat Bowl 3, Friday, December 19th, starting at 9 a.m. at the iconic Brat Stop in Kenosha, brought to you by Ziegler Subaru of Kenosha. For a great experience, visit ZieglerKenoshaSubaru.com. I've been involved with Brat Bowl 1. I've been involved with Brat Bowl 2. It's a pretty cool deal. The Score sets up on stage. They're a big stage there. If you've never been to the Brat Stop, maybe you're listening in Green Bay, Appleton, Wausau, Duluth, Superior, wherever you may be. It's a fairly big venue with a bunch of different rooms for like receptions and meetings and so forth. But they have a stage that has had so many different national touring acts that have played there over the course of time that, are either playing in Chicago or Milwaukee, and they grab them for a night in between or something like that. So it's a fairly large venue. So on that stage is where 670 The Score goes. And then in another part of that bar area, which again is very big, we set up the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. So that day, next Friday, the 19th, 9 to noon, we'll be there. Then the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis will be there. And then, of course, Wisconsin Sports Daily will be there as well, served up by Wendy. So come hang out. There'll be a lot of Bears fans. Kenosha is maybe 50-50 split Bears fans to Kenosha fans. There actually might be more Bears fans. I don't know how it is now. I haven't lived there in quite a while, but definitely a lot of Bears fans there, right? So there's going to be a lot of Bears fans at the Brat Stop, and we need to represent and have a lot of Packer fans there as well. You can come whenever you want between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to the Brat Stop. We'd love to see you. Great food, drink specials, all that fun stuff, and always have a good time. So, again, that's next Friday, December 19th, Brat Bowl 3 at the world-famous Brat Stop in Kenosha. All right, so let's talk about this report last night from Chris Haynes. Now, where was this from? Was this on Amazon? Is that where this is from? Right. Mm-hmm. So here's Chris Haynes talking about Giannis.
With rumors going on, rumors swirling rampant right now on Giannis Antetokounmpo and his future, sources have relayed to me that Giannis Antetokounmpo addressed some of his teammates recently to stress the importance of focusing on basketball and not to allow outside distractions to interfere with the process at hand. And, I was told that his point was that he's here at the time being wanting to get better, wanting to make sure he gets his game back on point, make sure he gets back from this injury. But he understood and he relayed the message that he can't control what goes on or what even happens to him. So obviously things are getting loud to a certain point where he felt like he had to address some of his teammates. So we shall see what happens from here on out.
So, question is simple. What'd you take away from what Chris Haynes said? We'll play it again so you can listen a little bit more closer. What did you take away from what Chris Haynes said on TV? Now, again, according to reports, Haynes is the cousin of Giannis's girl or whatever the case may be. We know Haynes is linked to Damian Lillard as well, as they've had a long-time relationship. So now you have the connection to Giannis too. Haynes, for the most part, has kind of stayed out of this Giannis fray. This Giannis fray has pretty much been ESPN-induced with Shams Charania and Windhorst and so forth. Now you have another NBA insider that's been around for a while, Jake Fisher. He put out a piece today pretty much just saying everything Charania and Haynes has said. But now he also has jumped into the fray, according to him, talking to people in Milwaukee, talking to people close to Giannis's crew and all this other stuff. So prior to this, over the weekend, Giannis is telling Chris Haynes, man, I'd run through a wall for these guys. And I want to finish strong with this team and so forth. And I quote tweeted it. I was like, oh, this is positive. This is good. I like to see this. I was like Friday night or Saturday night. And now you get to Monday, and now there's more talk going on and not in a positive light. So when you hear Chris Haynes talk about, hey, he's here for the time being, so he wants to play hard and be about the team and so forth. The time being is where I get hung up a little bit. right? Now, I don't know if Giannis said that in the text or whatever when he was talking to Chris Haynes, if he used the word the time being, if Chris Haynes used the word the time being. NBA players aren't stupid, okay? They know what's going on. They know. They know players from around the league that whatever they're hearing. They have their own agents. All agents talk. So they also hear what's going on from their agents. You have coaches, I'm sure, talking to players and so forth. Giannis is hurt. Giannis ain't even at the game, man. There was a home game. He wasn't even there. And then they're like, oh, blood flow this and blood flow that, whatever. He's better off staying home. Man, stop. Stop. And the last time prior to this being hurt, there was a home game and nobody saw him sitting on the bench. So it's not the first time it's happened. Team guy. All right. I'll tell you where I'm at on this. And I saw Ty Winders for the Eurostat podcast pretty much saying, it probably don't look so good. Like, this looks like this is going to happen here at some point, one way or the other, that this is probably going to happen. I've also seen people talking about the idea, and I think it was Rich Paul that brought it up, the mega agent, LeBron's friend, about the idea of the reason Giannis doesn't want this public is because he doesn't want there to be a question about his loyalty. He doesn't want to look bad. So he doesn't want it out there from him that he's trying to get out of Milwaukee one way or the other. So he's trying to keep his rep in place on the way out the door. Well, at the same time, the Milwaukee Bucks have no intention of wanting to trade Giannis ever, and they don't want that out there that they're looking to trade him either. So Giannis, instead of just owning up and going, yeah, man, I don't think I can win here. I got to go win. I got to figure out how to win another championship somewhere else. Instead of just manning up and making that statement, instead of just saying it, you say, hey, I don't know what the front office is doing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what my agents are talking about, and play the dum-dum role in all of this. Man, you must think we're a bunch of fools. Because that's really, really what it feels like, man. It does. I want to believe that Giannis isn't going anywhere. I want to believe that where there's smoke, there's fire. That's not the case here. Even though there's a ton of smoke, right? And there's been a lot of smoke around Giannis for the last 3 years, and nothing's ever come of it. We always hear this. Nothing ever happens. He never gets dealt, so forth. But at the same time, he's never, ever ended the conversation, has he? Has he ever come out and said, hey, man, I'm under contract through X. He could come out and say, I'm under contract through next year, and then I got a player option. There's no need to talk about me wanting to get traded or go anywhere else. I'm under contract. I'm here. I'm playing in Milwaukee. We want to have this conversation after next year when my player option is up. We'll talk. But right now, I don't want to get traded. I want to sit here. Miles Turner just got here. I've barely played with him because I've been hurt. So let's just see where this plays out over the next 2 years. Then we can have the conversation. Has he said that? Has he stepped up at any point and said that? Did he step up at any point over the summertime himself and said, hey, man, I love it in Milwaukee. I'm not leaving Milwaukee. The Sharania report, all that stuff, that's all bogus. We're not talking to him about trading me. My agents aren't talking to him about trading me. None of that is true. Anybody hear that? No, I haven't heard that from him yet either. Then there's a report that in the summer, they apparently, according to reports, said, hey, after the first 20 games, let's reevaluate where we're at and see if, Giannis still wants to be here or not. Well, now we're, in that ballpark. So now here comes the potential meeting or whatever it is that's going to occur. Bucks didn't do much of anything until after the 15th of December. So that's going to be next week if at earliest they would do something. But again, he's hurt. So regardless if they want to do something or not, until he's healthy and can show he's playing and everything is fine, because you know what happens to these calf strains, they end up leading to longer-term injuries, blowing out Achilles or whatever.
Yeah, and we saw that with Damian Lillard. We've seen that with other players like Jason Tatum. Kevin Durant went through all of that too. See all these players that go through that. At this point, I don't think based on what we've seen from Giannis and his personality so far, that you are ever going to get that now, because so many people have just jumped on this other bandwagon that he does want out. He just seems like somebody stubborn enough to say, you know what, you guys have already said all your own narratives. You've already put all the stories out there. You guys can think what you want. I'm just going to go play basketball and pretend like I'm ignoring this, even though he obviously is not ignoring it. I don't know. It just seems like he is in this mindset of, the team can start doing whatever they want. My agents can start doing whatever they want. I'm in the NBA season right now where I'm on this team. That's my focus, right, which is just not how it should be at this point. So, no, I don't know if this all means that he wants to leave or he wants to stay. I'm still not on either side of that yet. But at the same time, he needs to do something about what's happening right now, because it's just taking away from the rest of these guys in the season they're having, which is what you're trying to focus on.
You talk to your guys, which means your guys now are questioning what the hell is going on and whether or not you really want to be here, whether or not you don't want to be here. How hurt are you, man? You good? You can't play. You sure you're all right? Because I guarantee you those guys watch that replay. And that looked very awkward and weird. I'll be honest. Like, he looked right before he stepped. And then it was some awkward fall. And then you didn't see pain, nothing, just said something out loud. And then he kind of walked off. And that was the end of it. The whole thing was very, very weird to begin with. I'm playing this one more time. Now listen closely to Haynes.
With rumors going on, rumors swirling rampant right now on Giannis Antetokounmpo and his future, sources have relayed to me that Giannis Antetokounmpo addressed some of his teammates recently to stress the importance of focusing on basketball and not to allow outside distractions to interfere with the process at hand. And, I was told that his point was that he's here at the time being wanting to get better, wanting to make sure he gets his game back on point, make sure he gets back from this injury. But he understood and he relayed the message that he can't control what goes on or what even happens to him.
Wrong. 1,000%, 1,000,000% dead wrong. He wanted to relay to me that he can't control what happens to him. You want to make a damn bet? You're under contract. I promise you, the Milwaukee Bucks aren't saying, man, Giannis is washed up. Cat's old, can't stay healthy. To hell with this. We're better off without him. Let's just trade him. Not happening. You can go sell that crap somewhere else, man. Ain't buying that for a minute. Nobody's buying that for a minute. Don't come at me talking about, or anybody else, about you can't control what happens to you. You certainly can control what happens to you. You absolutely can. You can play through this contract, then you have a player option, not a team option, player option. You then get to decide if you want to stay for that next year or not, right? Then you become a free agent and you, Giannis, get to determine where you go. Don't pull this malarkey crap about you don't control it. Yes, you do. You can simply come out, talk to John Horton, I want to be traded. You don't need to be talking to my agent anymore. I'm here through the end of next year. When we get to the player option, then I'll see where we're at. Do not move me. I don't want to be moved. If you're good, I'm good. Let's just play. Do what you got to do now. Do what you got to do next summer. I'm not getting involved anymore, and I'm going to play this out and see where we're at after next year, and then I'll assess whether or not I want to pick up my player option or not. Say that to the Bucks. Say that to the media. Control your situation. Quit hiding behind the, I don't know anything. I can't control my agents. I can't control the Bucks front office. Stop, man. Nobody believes you.
During the offseason, I was more on his side in situations like this, because I think in the offseason, you are more allowed to look through these options and think about your future, because that's when you're supposed to do that stuff, is the offseason. Now you're in the regular season. You committed to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it's a little scummy to sit around and pretend like you're not doing anything, that you're not talking to anybody when you made that commitment before the season. All you could do is kind of what you're saying. I don't even have to say through the next season and a half. Say, for this season, I am committed to the Milwaukee Bucks. The offseason, I'm going to go through the same circus that I did this past offseason, because you already know that's what's happening.
2 off seasons.
You already know that's happening. So I'm sorry that you're going to have to deal with Sean's making reports and Windhorst making reports, but we're going to talk to other teams. That's what happens. That's what the NBA is. This is a league that has to do that. But right now, when we're playing NBA basketball, I am on this team. And for you to go around with a lot of players that bought into this team, and Ryan Rollins so far this season, he's been awesome, man. He deserves better than this. Miles Turner bought into you and left a team that was so committed to him for the past 12 years of his career to come here and play with you, and you're not committed to that. That's weird, man. That's weird. You're a grown-up. Be a grown-up.
Be a grown-up. That's exactly right. All right, ask you, what do you take away from what you heard from Chris Haynes say there? Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250. Let's go to Lewis, north side of Milwaukee. Your first up on the Nicolay Law Talking text line. What's up, Lewis?
What's up, Sparky? This is what I think about what Chris Haynes said. He said nothing. All of these players, all of these reporters are saying nothing. Like, if what Chris Haynes said was true, what Giannis did, his message to his teammates was, "I'm gonna be a good teammate. I'm not healthy right now. When I'm healthy, we're gonna ball out." That's the only thing I got out of that. Now, what I'm wondering is this: all these reporters have not uncovered this other side of this Giannis story. I mean, that man's wife and kids are in Greece, correct?
That was the report.
Oh, well, we know that's the report because she hasn't been around town. The kids aren't in school here, so they're in Greece. So last year, the last couple of years, every game at the Pfizer, whether Giannis gets 35, 40, he goes home, opens the door. It's daddy, 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 isn't it?
I really think so, yeah.
When he opens that door, it's silence.
Why?
That's what those reporters' jobs are. If they were doing some real reporting, we would know the answer.
But isn't that another clue that he ain't staying? Don't you think that's a clue? If he were staying, if Mama's happy, everybody's happy, right? Isn't that how it goes? So why aren't they here?
I'm gonna tell you what I think with Giannis is he's a guy who goes along with the flow, and right now with them kids and that wife being gone, maybe there's a little marital trouble.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? Hold on. I predicted Giannis would get hurt when I knew that wife and kids was in Greece. I said around Christmas, this guy's going to get hurt. He won't be on the bench. What happens? That guy's in Greece. It's nothing for a millionaire like him to get a private flight. Boom, he's in Greece. And I'm going to tell you right now, Greece, New York, it's 4 hours closer, isn't it?
I guess, yeah. I've never been to Greece, but sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot closer. You know what I'm saying? So you know, I'm sick of Sharney. I'm sick of Windhorse. All them. They're just saying. I think reporters here, like, would have a little more knowledge of what's going on.
The reporters have sources. The sources, whoever's talking to them, again, as I've said for weeks, I think the sources are his agents, Giannis's agents, and that's what they're going with. That's what they're going with.
His agents know. His agents know if he's in New York, if he's in L.A., their pockets.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
their kids get to go to school, and it's not a burden on them.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
so of course. And all those people talking to Giannis. This is a kid who was in the NBA and once didn't have money for a cab and jogged to the damn arena. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how loyal he is. That didn't just go away.
Yeah, but what's going to happen, Lewis, is if indeed he gets traded and all of this comes to fruition, then most people around here is going to be like, loyal schmoyal. There's no chance you could say that anymore. That's what they're going to say. Thanks for the call. And I'm going to tell you this right now, before it happens, it's unfair. It's unfair. And the only reason I say it's unfair, well, I don't like the two-face crap that he's pulling right now. I'm not a fan of this crap that he's pulling, but it's hard to question loyalty one way or the other. He stayed here much longer probably than any other person would with his accolades and his fame and everything else. Most others would have got out of the small market as quickly as possible to go get to a bigger market as soon as possible.
And then they can come back to the small market if they want, like LeBron. Correct. So I'm not going to sit and say, well, all this loyalty that he talked about wasn't real. He stayed here quite a long time. What I don't like is the last couple of years not being straight. At least Brett Favre was being straight when he was mad at the Packers, going out with Greta Van Susteren on Fox News and showing up and having TVs and helicopters and all this other stuff going on. That was straight up. Rodgers wasn't hiding. He's on Pat McAfee and everywhere else talking. He wasn't hiding either. This two-face crap about, oh, no, I don't know, and then pawning it off on somebody else. Oh, I'm here right now. Come on, man. Like, this is where you lost me.
You lost me the last 2 summers on all of this because you could have ended all of it, and you keep sidestepping everything and not wanting to talk about it and not manning up and having a conversation with everybody. That's what I'm mad about, because he could have ended this last summer. He could have ended it this summer. And instead, now we hear, and now there's agents involved again, because apparently they made some agreement, according to reports, that after 20 games, they'd reassess whether or not Giannis wanted to be here or not. Again, you think I'm mad? I don't know if John Horst is mad, but I would be livid for the last couple of years dealing with this dude. I would be beyond livid. Like, it'd be like, don't talk to me. When you're out of here, don't call me, don't text me. You and I, we're done. Because that's about the end of this. After everything that dude tried to do to build this thing the way he wanted it to be built, and this is how this is going to go down, if this is how it ends, man. Same goes with everybody else in the front office that's dealing with this. Peter Fagan, that's done cartwheels for him. Edens has done. Haslam just got here. I don't care about Haslam. Edens and all those guys, man. Do you remember when we're way late. When Mark Lazary left this organization and he said thunderstorms are coming because he didn't think Giannis was going to sign that last deal. That's why he got out. And he knew once Giannis leaves, it's going to be a ghost town at Fiserv for him. He knew. So Giannis stayed longer than Lazary thought he would, but even Lazary at that point knew it was coming. He did. And they've been able to string out Giannis for another 3 years after that, but clearly there was already conversation back then when Lazary bailed that this was probably going to happen. Unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. If you want to go see the Bucks, while Giannis is still in uniform, now again, he's hurt right now, but while he's still here, take that shuttle from the Potawatomi Casino Hotel. All you got to do is make a same game day wager, ask for your bracelet after you do it, or make a purchase at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, ask for your bracelet after you do that, and you can get on the shuttle at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel. It leaves 1 hour and a half before tip time, and it starts returning. Shuttles start returning starting in the third quarter, leaving Fiserv Forum heading back to the Potawatomi Casino Hotel. It's free to park at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel as well. I shot a video. I was there earlier today. I'll post it. Man, I'll be honest. Guilty. I did not realize how on point their Christmas decorations are inside and outside. Like they took it to a whole different level decorating for Christmas. I was in love walking around that place.
He's going to move to Candy Cane Lane now after seeing you're just studying.
Candy Cane Lane is a couple of streets. West Allis, right? Mm-hmm. West Allis in southeastern Wisconsin, for those of you around the state don't know what it is. And it's just all of these houses on a couple of blocks that are all just completely decked out with over-the-top Christmas decorations, all that. I was just there this weekend. They're taking donations for the MAC Fund, I think, as well. So we drove there this weekend. Yes, I like Candy Cane Lane. Yes, I do.
Of course you do.
Yeah, absolutely I do. Coming up next, some other things that got me irritated. The exodus from the Badgers football program is underway, and they lost some more key players in the portal earlier today, or going to lose more players, and a coaching change. We'll talk about that. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Sparky here. Charlie using the other side of the glass. Thanks for listening around the beautiful state of Wisconsin, Green Bay and Appleton area, WNFL 99.7 FM. In Wausau, 93.9 the game. In Duluth and Superior, 710 the game. And Milwaukee on the Fan, 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan. Before we get to Jason B. Hirschhorn coming up in the next hour at 3:20, co-founder of the Leap newsletter, talk some more Packers Broncos coming up at 3:20, plus Charlie Sounds of the Day, brought to you by Prize Picks, comes up at 3:40. Before we get to the top of the hour, and then we're going to talk some Brewers at 3. The Badgers, man. My goodness gracious. Like, it just never ends. Like, every time you click on something, you see somebody else leaving. First off, Kate Yakimelli, who showed you a little something, right, this year. Transfer portal.
Great. Awesome. He kind of showed you more last season, honestly, if anything, too. So
Sure. But still, he got something.
Yeah.
Tackett Curtis, linebacker. Junior. Gone.
Great. Awesome.
That's not good. But the one that hurts, Trek Kakahana, that kills him.
Well, just wait for him to come back again.
Well, that's what happened the last time. He decommitted and then recommitted. Oh, that one. So remember, Paul Chris was leaving and Leonard was leaving. I'm out. And then he talks to Fickle. All right, I'm back in. And now he's done. So that's great. Then the Badgers fire their offensive line coach and hire a new offensive line coach who was at Arkansas and is now going to be the new offensive line coach for your Wisconsin Badgers. Eric Mateos, I think is how you say his name, and he's going to come in. I don't know about you, but I was like, okay, so what's great about Eric Mateos? Guess what? He's crossed paths with Jeff Grimes numerous times along the way in his coaching career.
Course.
They were together at Baylor. They were together at one other spot too, I believe. So that makes sense from the aspect of Grimes, the offensive coordinator, going out and getting a guy that he's worked with that is going to teach his guys to block his scheme the way he wants it blocked, and that can be on the same page with him. Because, anytime you're a head coach or a coordinator, whatever else, you want guys around you that know the system and know the way you want to play, that can help you with recruiting of the guys, that are going to fit into the system you're trying to play at this point, Charlie.
Yeah, that would be nice. And their rush game was the best part of their team this season. They went 2-8, so they weren't very successful, but they had 5.7 yards per rush attempt and had 25 rushing touchdowns on the season with about 191 per game. I mean, that's a good spot that out of an awful team, you can find the bright spot, and the Badgers found it at least.
We'll see how this goes, because there's reports that they're involved with a quarterback possibly that's going to be in the transfer portal. But they're going to get one, maybe two. And then we'll start all over again and see if that kid can stay healthy.
Yep.
He hasn't had a single quarterback stay healthy yet, has Fickle.
1 and 2 that's probably going to get hurt or just not be as good as advertised. Just play Carter Smith, man.
Also, congratulations to Monty Ball, the former Badger running back, becoming the 17th former Badger player to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. That happened last night. So nicely done there. Winter meetings going on right now in Major League Baseball. Brewers have names all over the place. We knew about McGill. We knew about Freddie Peralta. Now there's another pitcher involved that apparently the Brewers are receiving trade offers on as well. So we'll talk about that. And what are really expectations for the Brewers this offseason? It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Charlie using other side of the glass. Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter. Talk more Packers, Broncos, get his thoughts on this upcoming matchup on Sunday afternoon. That one kicks off in the 3 o'clock hour. Once that game is done, we will be on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with the Green Bay Football postgame show, powered by Lakeland University with myself and Tommy Wirtz. Looking forward to that. Charlie Sounds Today comes up at 3 o'clock. We'll hear from Matt LaFleur coming up at 4 as part of our Green and Gold update. So the winter meeting's going on in Major League Baseball. Kyle Schwarber off the board, back to the Philadelphia Phillies. Pete Alonso, as of today, Charlie, he's off the board too?
Yes, he is, to the Baltimore Orioles on a 5-year, $155 million deal.
No chance. No chance. And that's what David Stern said too. No chance. I'm giving you $30-some million, Pete Alonso, to strike out a ton. And yes, he hits home runs. Sure he does. Right. He knocks in runs, but he can get some really bad cold stretches at some point. Baltimore is desperately trying to figure out how to get themselves relevant and over the hump to get not only into the postseason, but to make some type of run in the postseason. And they're in a hopeless position because they got to deal with the Yankees payroll. You got to deal with Boston's payroll. Got Baltimore. Toronto is surging. Got to deal with the Blue Jays. I forget Tampa Bay. I don't even know what you do if you're Tampa Bay. I couldn't even begin to tell you.
But they always seem to figure out a way in Tampa Bay too.
I'm just saying, they're really up against it, even compared to Baltimore at this point. So you've got all of this going on. Still waiting to see what's going to happen with Charlie's guy, Kyle Tucker, and what's going to play out here. Eno Saris, we've had on before from The Athletic, big baseball stats guy, whatever else. Last night, I forgot what time it was, late last night, puts up just the eye emojis, right? And that means something big is happening. Some reporter from Chicago quote tweets it and says, "Oh, don't tell me. Kyle Tucker to the Brewers." And I responded on Twitter with, ha, 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 ha. Funny. Kyle Tucker going to the Brewers. Funny stuff. But one of the other reports that came out yesterday after we were off the air is that Nick Mears, another Brewers reliever, is apparently also drawing interest from teams. So now, from the reports that we're getting, we have Nick Mears, Trevor McGill, Freddie Peralta, all drawing interest. I have not heard a single reporter or read a single reporter or seen on TV a single reporter say who the Brewers are calling on. You seen anything?
Nope, not a single thing. We at least got rumors before the winter meetings of they could be interested in this guy. Nothing of even that.
No, nothing. Just give me some scraps. Give me a couple names, John Heyman. Give me something.
In Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, a player like that or something. Yeah. At least that.
I'm waiting for the winter meetings to get done. Once they're done, we'll get John Heyman back on. And we'll see what John Heyman has to say because he's super busy now with the winter meetings. I get that. But what are you expecting from this Brewers offseason? What are you expecting to happen? Because we're in it now. I mean, winter meetings, this is when all the action happens, right? We're in the thick of it. Free agents are being signed and so forth. What are you really expecting the Brewers to do this offseason as we sit here right now? Nicolay Law Talker text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials, WI Sports Radio. Watch us live on X and on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family members all over this beautiful state of Wisconsin. They can do it that way. I think they're going to trade one of these relievers. I have no inside knowledge. But it makes too much sense for them to trade them. Their bullpen is deep. They got all these young arms that could be in a rotation that aren't going to be in the rotation, providing everybody's healthy. So you can plop one of those guys from AAA or whatever and put them into the bullpen if need be. Then today, in the Rule 5 draft, in the AAA portion of the draft, where they're taking guys from AAA, the Brewers snagged a pitcher. Because of what else would they snag, right? They snag a pitcher in the Rule 5 called Cole Phillips, former second-round pick. He's been in the Braves organization, the Mariners organization. The problem is he keeps getting hurt. He has touched 98 on his showcase circuit prior to his first Tommy John surgery out of high school. His fastball has a 70 grade from Baseball America in 23. So they picked that cat up, and they're going to put him in Nashville and see if they can keep him healthy and work. So that might be a guy that ends up at some point maybe in the bullpen. But you got all these other guys that you can pitch to. So if I can, and this was brought up to me last night too, what if you packaged McGill and Mears together in a deal? What kind of significant return could you get there? Because McGill and Mears go back the other way. That's going to significantly improve anybody's bullpen, Charlie. And both of them with a couple of years of control.
Yeah, but they also significantly improved the Brewers bullpen too. It's nice to have them around.
Oh no, I understand. But I mean, if you're in the mode of we're going for it now, we need a bat now type deal, you're going to have to give up to give something, right? So would you rather give up a couple relievers at the major league level with a couple of years of service time for both of them versus giving up a bunch of prospects to go find that person you need?
I mean, I think looking at how deep the Brewers, not only at the minor league level, but even at the major league level with some of these players, I mean, I think realistically you could flip a Garrett Mitchell or an Isaac Hollins.
Garrett Mitchell has no value because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, but I think somebody will find value out of the type of prospect he used to be. And when he is at the MLB level, the little bit of juice that he has been able to give, especially defensively, I think teams are always looking for that in their outfield to get a guy that can go out there and be that when he is healthy. I think you can move one of those guys and one of these relievers without depleting two of your relievers, that both of them being extremely important last season. I think you can go out there and find ways around this without giving up everybody and trying everybody new. Like Cole Phillips, yeah, that'd be awesome, but he's 22 years old. You have to find out what he has to do in the minor leagues first. I mean, you could bring Carlos Rodriguez up and have him be a reliever at some point this season. That's an option. I mean, you have players like that.
But remember, right now in the back end of that bullpen, if you were to move those two, your 8th and 9th inning guy probably is Uribe in the 9th and Ashby in the 8th.
Yeah.
That's probably
Koenig if they feel confident about it.
Or Koenig in the 8th too, right? So Ashby, Koenig, Uribe is the back end of that bullpen. That's still not horrible.
No, but it's not what you have right now.
No, it's not. But you have to give up something to get something. That's how this works.
I get it, but you don't have to give up both of them is my point.
Oh,
you can stay strong.
You can give
up other players on your team that are also should be available at this point.
I just think you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to empty out the farm to go get a stud hitter? Or are you going to give up a couple of major league arms that are pretty good that people have, high expectation for that they would still have team control of to get that done and keep your farm intact, right? So instead of trading a Pena or a Made or somebody like that, trading a McGill and a Mears or Mears and somebody else, maybe that makes sense. Asking you, what are your expectations for this Brewers team this offseason? I feel like a lot of people expect them to unload salary. I think that's where a lot of people are. I don't think they have to. I don't. I think they can keep it all intact, trade some minor leaguers, get a third baseman or a bat, and still be fine at the end of the day. Trell, north side of Milwaukee, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Trell?
Hey, what's going on, Sparky?
You tell me.
I'm upset with the media, local media.
All right.
Because the conversation you're having right now, it just shows how much this media has coddled Mark A. We just had a story on or article by Forbes that showed the Brewers' earnings and compared it to the other clubs about how much are they spending.
The percentage of the revenue that they spend, correct?
Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, weren't the Brewers like way below, like they were like the bottom of the league?
Bottom third. Yep. Bottom third. Yep.
And we're talking about saving more money after a team just fell short of winning the NLCS. Well, I shouldn't say just fell short, but they got swept in NLCS. So we got a team that's at the door knocking. And instead of us looking at adding to this team, we're talking about shedding salary. So I don't blame Mark A. If I had a media that was going to cover for me and make all of these excuses up where I don't have to keep investing in the team and I can just fill my coffers up and do a little bit of something and say, hey, we'll be okay. We'll get back here sooner or later. Hey, I wouldn't do anything either. So I think that's why I say I don't expect them to do anything because there's no pressure on the ownership to have to do anything. And I heard that you say you didn't want the Pete Alonso signing because he strikes out too much. You find me a guy who averages over 250 batting average, and it gets you at least 30 home runs a year, and you're paying him $31 million when there's guys making $70 million in the league now? Come on now.
No, I understand.
Makes too much sense.
You're all about the power at the end of the day. I totally get it. And that's what drives baseball. That's what everybody said the Brewers were going to need in the postseason in order to win. Thanks for the call. I get why the Baltimore Orioles would do it. I'm just saying from the Brewers' perspective, to me at least, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for the Brewers to necessarily invest that much money into that dude at this point.
Yeah, and I'm there as well. I don't think Pete Alonso is worth that. Going back to what Trell was saying about Mark Adonasio not feeling that pressure from the fan base, I'd like kind of newsflash here. He has his feet kicked up no matter what we say or what the fans complain about, because the fans have been complaining. The fans and our voices have been heard and have been out there talking about this. He doesn't care. You know what happens when teams start pushing even more and the fans stop going to the games and stuff like that? Look at the Oakland A's that are now the Sacramento A's going to be the Las Vegas A's. That's what happens when you get an owner that just gets fed up with the fan base complaining all the time. So, yeah, we can sit here and say we want more from Mark Adonasio, but at the same point, at some point, we have to concede. We have to say that, all right, he's not spending that money as much as we'd like it. We have to find ways to how he should spend that money. Otherwise, that could still help this team be competitive. Yeah, at some point you have to not fight back, because then you risk losing a team that so many people here love as much as they do. Probably better than the Packers for some people.
And I always said we got to win, we got to win, we got to win. And I always said we got to win, we got to win, we got to win.
You want to hear that's from?
What year?
2014. 2014. They weren't coming off of a very good season. And Mark Antanasio was talking in September of 2014 about, how they have to do it, how they got to get over the hump.
I think we need to give the fans a reason to come back. And that doesn't, that we have to have we have to identify what went wrong. We have to have a good explanation for how we're fixing it. And if we're not making any changes, we better have a damn good reason for why and I mean changes broadly speaking. Everything's the same roster, same manager and coaches, same everything. We better say, well, it was this, and that's why we're not changing. And that's an option.
This is the thing. And I got lucky. I was looking for something else earlier today. Found this. I found so much old stuff. I just have so much stuff that I could play. But this is my thing. I want you to have that same energy to win a World Series. I'm good that you have that same energy to be good in the regular season. I'm happy that you have the want to win regular season games. But I need that same energy after you continuously get beat in the postseason to, when it's all said and done, go, hey, man, we better figure out a way to get to the damn World Series. I'm not getting any younger. Yeah, my kids are going to take it over, but I'd like to still be the guy in charge to put a ring on this finger and everybody else's finger. I want to be the guy in charge when we have a parade for a winning World Series team in Milwaukee and around the state as well. I want to be that guy, and I'm running out of time. I'm not getting any younger. We better figure out how to get this done. He doesn't talk like that. He talked like that in 2014 because they weren't very good. Regular season, right? They weren't going to the playoffs, nothing like that. That is what I want to hear when we talk about the postseason. And I want to win in the postseason and get to a World Series. That's what I want. Not just, we had a bad season, so now I'm going to be mad. I mean, that's fine that you're mad, but fans want to see that about postseason and how you take that step further.
Well, and then when they clinched the division this year, he goes out there and talks about how, well, all these other teams are really good and that the Brewers are just underdogs and have to fight back. I mean, that's you, dude. You're the guy that's directing all of this, even beyond the money. I get it that, yeah, we are asking you to spend more money than is probably actually available to you to be spending, and a lot of fans are angry at him for that. But at some point here, you have to step up, and it's got to be more than just words, because I think he will go out there and just say whatever he thinks fans want to hear. This is a situation where it has to go beyond that from him as a leader of this organization.
He's Charlie using over there. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Coming up next, Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of The Leap. We go back to the Packers, talk about the Green Bay Packers and the Denver Broncos coming up this weekend. In a world of tenders, Wendy's decided to make something more juicy, more crispy, more dippable. New chicken tenders are here. Some may call them tendies, and yes, it's fun to say and even more fun to eat. And Wendy's new chicken tendies come with an insane new sauce lineup. New Wendy's signature. Jack Pembroke turned this on to me at the toy drive. It is money. It does have a little bit of kick, a little bit of spice, but it's delicious. New sweet chili or new scorching hot, or choose one of the classics, honey barbecue, creamy ranch, or honey mustard. Whatever you choose, they're the perfect vessel to dip all your tendies in. Wendy's new chicken tenders are so juicy, crispy, and dippable. Remember them forever. Gotta have tendies. It's gotta be Wendy's. Before we get to Jason Hirschhorn, let's go to the Nicolay Law Talking text line. Brian in McGuanago, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's with me, Sparky. What's up?
I love the Brewers, man, and I'm gonna tell you, twice on my birthday they had the winning streak to go to George Webb's on my birthday. One was Easter Sunday, but following the Brewers for 50 years, it's like going to a wedding or going to a party or a dance solo like Jason Derulo and leaving at the end of the night when nobody else is there with a two-stooler.
A two-stooler?
Well, a heifer. It's like, is that
no,
a
man,
right? You made the playoffs?
No.
You made the playoffs? Is that what you're going to be satisfied forever and ever and ever?
Yes, I think so, because he's getting the fans to come back at a couple million every year, and then he gets the playoff money that goes with it. He got 2 rounds of playoff money out of this thing.
This past season, I heard this live on TV when they interview him a couple times a year in the booth, and he said his goal is to produce a good product, not necessarily to win the World Series. That was coming from Anastasio himself.
When he got that job, when he got ownership, he said he wanted to be competitive every year. That's what he wanted. He wanted to compete for a playoff spot year in and year out. He didn't want any long stretches of losing. None of that. Every year, compete for a playoff spot and see what happens. And he has lived up to that expectation that he set for this organization when he took over. Thanks for the call. Because prior to him getting here, 26 years of losing. Horrible. God awful. They haven't been anywhere close to that since Mark's been in charge. So he has accomplished that goal that he set out. I'm not quite sure he ever said, hey, I want to win a World Series before this is all said and done. I could be wrong. Man's done a million interviews, right? But I don't think I've ever heard him say, I want to win a World Series before I turn this over to my kids. I don't think I've ever heard him say it, ever.
But why would he ever? Because that locks him into that.
Wouldn't that be your goal, man?
Not for everybody.
I know.
Not for everybody.
No, you're right. Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap Newsletter, talking Packer Broncos. Coming up next, Wisconsin Sports Daily, subbed up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.
I think the consistency at which he's gone out there and performed just keeps getting better the more he plays. And certainly the comfort with his surrounding support cast, I think, is ever growing the more we get to go out there and practice. And it's been nice to get some pieces back, I think, later in this year. And so hopefully we can continue to build and get even better.
There he is, Matt LaFleur from earlier today. We'll hear more from Matt LaFleur coming up at 4 o'clock in our Green and Gold update. Some more of the other things that he had to say, but that was LaFleur talking about Jordan Love. You're listening to Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Time to turn our attention to the Green Bay Packers. To the guest hotline we go, powered by Gruber Law. Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter. Follow him on Twitter at @buy_JBH. Jason, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Sparky.
Okay, so year 3, Jordan Love. Year 1, first half of the year was a disaster because nobody on offense knew what they were doing outside of Jordan Love. Then they catch fire after that Steelers game in the second half of year 1. They win in Dallas in the playoffs, lose to the Niners, fine. Year 2, he's banged up and hurt most of the year last year, so really never got going. They really became more of a conservative running offense. Then he throws picks in like every game, so then he quits throwing and being aggressive on offense, does not throw more picks. This, I feel like, is the first year where we've kind of really seen Jordan Love be Jordan Love all season to this point. And now finally, his wide receiver core is healthy. They'd be really scary with Tucker Kraft to this point. But how would you describe the progress made by Jordan Love since year 1 as a starter to where he is now?
To a certain degree, he is having the season in 2025 that a lot of people, myself included, thought he would have in 2024. And you laid out the real reason, it seems, why that didn't happen. He gets hurt in pretty significant fashion in week 1. Granted, he's able to come back, I think, after only missing 2 games, but was clearly not himself for a while physically, maybe never even really got over that injury hump, given that he had another lower body injury later in the season. So this year, he has been healthy. I mean, I know he had in the preseason that issue with his non-throwing thumb. Then he had the big hit to his non-throwing shoulder. But those things really have not impacted him in the way that knee injury did a year ago. He is playing aggressively. He is playing smart, despite the reputation that he built early in his career as a starter as this high turnover player. Has not turned over the ball at a very high rate. He only has 4 interceptions as we speak right now. His turnover-worthy play rate also down relative to what it's been in the past. Like, this is a player that's really putting it all together, and that's with so much around him changing. I mean, you mentioned Tucker Kraft goes down with an injury. They did not have Christian Watson for much of the season. His offensive line has shifted its formation several times this season, but Jordan Love has been consistent. This is the version of Jordan Love that the Packers thought they might get when they spent a first-round pick on him.
Depending on the advanced stats you look at, you'll see Jordan Love in different rankings. But no matter where you look, he's normally top 5, top 7. If you go just by that ESPN goofy QBR thing, he's second in football at the quarterback position so far this year. There was a lot of talk earlier this year of, man, they gave that guy all this money. You know, is he really worth it at the end of the day? I mean, from my standpoint, I think he's worth the money they spent on him to right now.
Yeah, and you can't really look at just the play calling and say that is definitive proof that the team knows that Jordan Love is not a top-tier quarterback. I mean, there were reasons, even if they were somewhat ill-advised, they took those approaches. Like, think of the Eagles game, for example, where Josh Jacobs had, I think it was like 20 total touches around like 16, 17 minutes into the game. Literally that number, that was not made up. Like, that had to do with the defense they were playing and the way that it makes sense to attack the Eagles. Now, they should have deviated from that when the run game wasn't working, but that had more to do with what the defense was showing. That was not a commentary on Jordan Love. As we move forward, saying that there were more situations where, hey, you are going to have opportunities in the passing game if you want to take them. We've seen the play calling really accentuate those factors. Jordan Love has been the real centerpiece of that offense basically every other week, except for that little stretch that they had with the Panthers game and the Eagles game. This is a game, or this offense that, yes, is predicated on what the run game represents, but is not necessarily a run-heavy offense. It depends on the opponent. And we've seen that when they need to air it out, Jordan Love is more than capable of doing so.
So with Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter. Follow him on Twitter, X, whatever you'd like to call it, at @buy_JBH. Let's have a conversation about this matchup with the Denver Broncos this week, because They are far and away the leaders in sacking of the quarterback by double-digit margin over second-place Cleveland Browns at this point coming into this game. However, when you look at team rankings as far as them against the pass, them against the run, them against the pass, bottom third in the NFL, them against the run, top 5 in the NFL as we sit here today. So what really is the best way to go about going after this Denver offense? Because it feels like it's throwing the football, but at the same time, you're probably going to have to give some help to that offensive line.
So you made a very good point there. It's very interesting the way that this Denver defense operates. They are able to generate a lot of pressure because they blitz a lot. Going into week 15, they have the 7th highest blitz rate in the league, and the difference between them and number 3 is very, very small. They're one of the highest blitz rate teams in the entire league. And what's interesting about that is Jordan Love is the best quarterback in the NFL this season against the blitz. So if you're Vance Joseph, the Broncos defensive coordinator, you have a really difficult decision ahead of you. Do you continue to blitz at that really high rate, knowing that you're playing a quarterback that has been better than anyone else in the league at beating that blitz? Or do you change? Do you say, we're not going to blitz quite as much, and that's going to open up other things for that Packers offense? So it's a really tough matchup, not just on the Packers side, because yes, there will be pressure on Jordan Love. The Broncos have done that to every offense they have faced this season. But it comes with a high risk. And we know that this Packers offense, with those opportunities, tends to take advantage, with Christian Watson there especially. So if the Broncos are going to blitz as much as they have against Green Bay this weekend, yeah, they're probably going to get to Jordan Love a few times, but Jordan Love might be able to find a way to turn those plays into touchdowns as he's done throughout the season.
Jason, what about on the other side of things? In the first segment of the show, we asked how much better do you think this Brewers team, or how much better do you think this Packers team can play? And my first thing was, well, you got to score more often earlier in games, right? I mean, they just don't score enough early in games like I think they should at this point. But the other part about this, from my perspective, was Rashawn Gary's got to get home, man. He has got to get home. He got off to such a hot start in the season, and now he's been not silenced because he's getting pressures, but not finishing at the quarterback. And if Micah Parsons isn't finishing there, they're not getting consistency from anybody else. That has to be the next step. However, you have a mobile quarterback in Bo Nix this week, which means Hafley will probably hold everybody back and try and rush 4 or 5.
I think Hafley's plan is going to be predicated on a lot of those sim pressures where it does look like they're going to send 5, 6 defenders and then multiple drop back and you just don't know which ones.
Right.
That's the way we've seen other offenses or other defenses rather approach Bo Nix this season with some success. He is a mobile quarterback and he is able to run through context. That's a big thing when you're planning for him. But at the same time, you can trick him in a lot of ways. There have been very few games Bo Nix has had this season that were clean. And I think that's a big part. Remember, this is a Packers defense that is starting to get those turnovers. I think they probably look at this match with Bo Nix and say, we can trick them a few times, turn some of these offensive possessions of the Broncos into short fields for our offense. I think it really comes down to that. You otherwise take a lot of the approach you took with like Jalen Hurts, for example. You know there are limitations as a passer. What you need to do is make sure that he's not going to beat you over the top, or at least not going to have a lot of opportunities to do so. And you show him a lot of stuff right before the snap that's going to make him second guess what he wants to do. That can work with a player like Hurts. It can definitely work with a player like Bo Nix. A lot of, again, defenses have done that with success this season.
So I'm with Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter. Follow him on X at @by_JBH. How much of a concern do you have going into this game about the Packers run defense? Because team stats, they're still the top of the league, top 5, top 10 as far as rush defense goes. But I feel like this fan base still gets very itchy and sweaty anytime somebody has any type of success running the football against this Packers defense.
It is something you do have to wonder about after Devontae Wyatt's injury. Now, he wasn't the linchpin to that run defense, but he was still a big part of it. Like, he was playing enough snaps that he had to factor in there. Now, they have, since his injury, really tried to beef up on the waiver wire. They added Jordan Riley. They added Quinn, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of his last name, but that large defensive tackle from the Seattle Seahawks. So they are going with really like a quantity approach. And that might be even more helpful in a matchup like this, not because it's the Broncos, but because that game will be at altitude. So I think a big part of this is the way that they rotate those guys along the defensive interior, and it's what you're going to get, as usually is, from the linebackers. Edgerrin Cooper has had a pretty good season at this point. Maybe not exactly the season people thought he might have going into the year, but he has been effective. Quay Walker, we know what he can do, especially in the run game. He's going to have another week back in the rotation. So they should have the manpower to attack that Broncos run offense because, J.K. Dobbins was such a big part of that attack. He's not there anymore. It's going to be some combination of Jaleel McLaughlin and R.J. Harvey. And those are effective players, but those are guys that tend to attack the outside, like outside zone runs. Packers have been one of the best defenses at defending those kind of runs. So we'll see again if the Broncos are going to change that up too, because if you want to attack the Packers run defense after Devontae Wyatt's injury, you'd obviously want to do it along the interior, but that's not what those running backs have done well to this point in the season.
Jason B. Hirschhorn, go ahead, promote away about the Leap newsletter and how people can check out.
You can go to theleap.football. That is our website. Is where you can find my work in that. Peter Bukowski. We try to cover the Packers and the NFL as a whole from angles besides what you will see on your Twitter feed. We had a big piece on how this Broncos matchup is really going to go down from an interior perspective, from an offense and defense perspective in those trenches. We have a piece going up later in the week about Christian Watson. I don't think people realize exactly how good he's been. Like, they know he's been good, obviously, 5 touchdowns in 4 games. There's a lot more to it than that. And it's really going to affect the way this offense looks, not just the rest of this way, but maybe in the seasons to come. So we'll have all that coming up at theleap.football.
One last question. Are you surprised the Packers are favored in this game in Denver or with the team running a 10-game winning streak?
I think if you look at that 10-game winning streak, you can see that there's a lot of holes in it. It's not exactly as flimsy as that Bears winning streak that ended this past weekend, but there's a lot of overlap. This is an offense that has struggled with consistency in Denver. It is a defense that is high variance, and the things that they do well are the things that the Packers offense tends to do well against. So in this matchup, given the way that these teams are playing, I don't think it's totally crazy, even on the road. But, if I remember correctly, it's like a 1.5 point spread at the moment, something like that. This is going to be a close game, or at least it should be.
Jason, thanks so much for coming on, man. Enjoy the rest of your week. Great stuff as always.
All right, take care, Sparky.
Take care. There he is, Jason B. Hirschhorn, co-founder of the Leap newsletter. On X at @by_JBH. Joined us on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Charlie, Sounds of the Day is coming up. Don't forget Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. That's where you want to go for all of your favorite action that you want to go watch, whether it's the NFL, college football, basketball, hockey, MMA, UFC fight nights, whatever it may be. They have it all at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, 2,000 square foot center screen. Earlier today, we had the 9 to noon show. John Kuhn was there with Rami Makloff doing his show. Then it was the Mason Crosby show with Mitch Thunder Nellis. No Mason Crosby, but Thunder was there. Tommy Wirtz was on location today doing the show with them. They had a great time at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. I'm telling you, that kitchen at the Potawatomi Sportsbook is amazing. Homemade desserts and pastries each and every day. Plus, they got 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, all kinds of different food options you can have, including all-day brunch. It is unmatched. It is so, so good. So check out the Potawatomi Sportsbook today. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. We got to get to our Charlie Sounds of the Day segment. And, of course, that is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's holiday season, best time of the year for the sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions each and every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, in one place where it feels good to be right. Prize Picks. We're going to have to make a Prize Picks lineup today. We'll do that before 5 o'clock. We haven't made a Prize Picks lineup in a while, so we'll do that today as well. And again, the thing I love about Prize Picks, nice and easy. They have the stacks, right, where you can take one guy or one player and go more or less on different stat projections with one player 2-3 times in a lineup. I don't believe anybody else allowed you to do that other than Prize Picks. I love the injury reboot, where if you lose somebody in the first half, they don't come back in the second half of the game. Yes, that player comes out of your lineup, but your lineup doesn't default and go, oh, it's over, you're done. Nope, your lineup still keeps going, and you don't get checked as missing that one. Another feature that I love at Prize Picks as well. So it is the place to be. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code SPARKY, SPARKY, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. We will give you our lineup before we get out of here at 5 o'clock. With that being said, time now to see what Charlie has lined up for us today. All right, let's get to our sounds of the day. Before we get to that, ESPN, Adam Schefter of all people, reporting that Michigan has fired head coach Sherrone Moore. Done at Michigan.
Kind of makes sense. I mean, if they had an okay season, but it was just filled with drama.
Who's the guy? You got to have somebody. You're not firing Sherrone Moore and not having anybody ready to walk in.
When John Harbaugh gets fired by the Ravens, if they miss the playoffs, he could go to Michigan then.
He could, but they're not firing. I don't think they're firing John Harbaugh. I'm just saying, like, who is that guy? Do they go get Saban? Convince Saban to come back and coach at Michigan against Ryan Day at Ohio State?
Feels like the type of school he would go back to if he were to go back. Yeah, that would kind of make sense. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be interesting. Not good for the Badgers at all in any way, shape, or form.
Luke Fickell, maybe if he's out of a job eventually.
I wonder where Michigan goes next. The history of Michigan says they like to keep it in the family because every time they go outside of the family, it backfires on them. So we'll have to wait and see where Michigan goes. But yeah, Michigan looking for new head football coach. All right, let's go.
All right, speaking of Michigan, we're going to head over to Bussin' with the Boys, which is hosted by former Michigan left tackle Taylor Lewan and Will Compton, former NFL middle linebacker. They had former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron on their show. I have 3 clips of him where he is just talking some crazy recruiting stories.
Being honest.
First one is about Joe Burrow and how he recruited Joe Burrow away from Ohio State.
So I took him outside. This might have been the most important talk I ever had in all my life. We're in the parking lot, okay? The gravel's, road, people, the dust is coming.
What restaurant is this?
Mike Anderson's restaurant. I said, Joe, if you tell anybody about this conversation, it never happened. I said, Joe, I don't get you, they're going to fire me. I get you, we're going to win the national championship. That's how important you are to me. Now, there's 3 quarterbacks ahead of you. I'm going to put you on the 4th team. And you're going to earn your way in front of the football team. But, Joe, I know these quarterbacks. They're good, but they're not as good as you. I ain't seen a damn lick of film on the son of a gun. You hear me? I was just going on what I heard, right? And I saw in that meeting, right? I saw that look in his eye. I hit home with that. I said, now, you're going to come earn your way, but I know you're better than them. Now, Joe, by the way, I have 2 pretty good receivers. One's name is Jamar Chase, and one's name is Justin Jefferson. You don't know about him yet, but you're going to love him.
Yeah, he loved him. It worked out all right. The funniest part about all of that is Orgeron saying, I don't even know how good he was. They told me to go talk to this dude, so I went and I talked to this dude and told him it was life and death, pretty much, if it didn't work out. What made Orgeron so good was the big personality, was the shoot from the hip style, and you always felt like he wasn't screwing with you. Like, he was just being honest. That's what I think, how he connected with a lot of these guys. You know, he liked the college girls and all that stuff too, as we saw later. But regardless of that, I think is kind of what connected a little bit with some of these guys.
I mean, I'd want to play for him if I'm being completely honest. He seems like an awesome coach to play for. Like, he'd be on your side no matter what. He'll tell you the truth no matter what. And he's just going to be there. Yeah, he made some questionable decisions off the field. Even on the field, he made some questionable decisions. That's ended up what getting him fired from LSU. But at the same time, I mean, he knows how to get guys to come to his school. Now, in this next clip, he didn't know how to get Adrian Peterson to come to his school, but he tried really hard.
Let me tell you the one I didn't get, Adrian Peterson. So Adrian went down there, a little East Texas place. He comes to USC, has a great visit, loves it. But Adrian said, Coach, I got a problem. And I know he don't mind me saying this, and I'll say it with utmost respect because I love him. Coach, my daddy's incarcerated in Texarkana. Bob Stoops has already going in there to see him. He said, Coach, I got to go see my dad, man. And if you can convince my dad to come to USC, I want to come. But there's another thing I need to talk to you about. So we tried to get into jail, but everybody else tried. They wouldn't let them do it. So I said, Adrian, what is the other thing we need to talk about? And he goes, Coach, my dad will get to watch me play in Texarkana. They play Oklahoma games. Because I'm not going to Texas. I'm going to Oklahoma. I said, Adrian, if your daddy, if they showed them USC games over there, would you come? He said, Coach, I come tomorrow. If you promise me, my daddy could see every one of my games. I went back to Los Angeles. I went to speak to the mayor. I went to speak to every influential person that I could talk to. And I tried to get Adrian's daddy transferred from Texarkana to Los Angeles jail, man. I tried. I busted my butt. I couldn't do it, man. Just too many red tape.
Were you ever close?
No. No, they looked at me like, you can't do that, man.
That is amazing. But again, Badgers recruiting doing this. Badgers recruiting going through all that, trying to get somebody.
Luke Fickell doesn't even want to show up to dinners and stuff.
Are they connecting like that? That's my thing, though. We always talk about, well, the SEC. Everyone wants to play in the SEC because they win, this and that. But you don't even know all the backstories about, parents and whatever else situations they might be in. And then a coach figured out, like, okay, man, like, there's got to be some other way I can get this done with you. You tell me. Well, you move them over there. Yeah, come. And then the dude goes and tries to do it. Like, that's the one thing. He tells you, like, oh, well, that's not happening. Not Ed Orgeron. He's like, I'll figure this out. I'll get him move jails just so I can have his kid play football for us. That's next level. I don't think there are a lot of guys necessarily that go to that next level.
I don't think so. And I think for like Wisconsin's sake here, I know they're not USC, I know they're not LSU, but just talking about like Joe Burrow, for example, he was the 4th string quarterback at Ohio State. Instead of going and getting the starting quarterback from Miami, like you did with Tyler Van Dyke or Tanner Mordecai from SMU, the same deal, a starting quarterback who's been there, done that. Why don't you get 3 to 4 guys from the bigger universities who are trying to make their name, make a start for themselves, and I'll give those guys opportunities alongside of Carter Smith, who's your freshman quarterback, instead of just constantly going back to trying to get experienced players in a world where that doesn't matter. And guys like Ed Orgeron knew that. He knew before then, even when he was at USC trying to recruit an Adrian Peterson, that sometimes it's just about trying to go and get the most talented kids, no matter what their situation is.
Again, it's just, there are so many different angles of recruiting. And of course, there's money involved too, Charlie.
Oh, of course there is. Here's Ed Orgeron joking about adjusting to NIL.
Hey, you know what? I say, hey, Coach, you've been out of coaching for a while. And how are you going to adjust to NIL? I said, well, it's a minor adjustment. And they said, what do you mean? I said, back then, we used to walk through the back door to cash. And now we just got to walk through the front door to cash.
That's hilarious, dude. Anytime that dude talks, you just listen because he's just such a big personality. And I'm sure everybody that's like, oh my God, they were paying players and so forth. But you talk to any of these guys that played a D1 ball and whatever else, it's been going on forever and a day. This just didn't start now, Charlie.
Well, and there's multiple reports of that, multiple accounts of that. There's a great book called The System that talks about like 4 different universities and the different ways they were paying players or the way coaches. It goes in depth about Mike Leach and the way he coaches
Yeah.
players at Texas Tech. It's really interesting that this has been going on forever, just now it's legal, and that makes it harder almost.
No doubt about it. Hey, coming up next Friday, December 19th, Ziegler Subaru of Kenosha presents Brat Bowl 3 at the world famous Brat Stop in Kenosha. I know you listen around the state, southeast little corner. Maybe you take a drive, maybe come hang out. Either way, it's going to be awesome all day. Live events starting at 9 a.m. with 670 The Score and the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, featuring all your favorite on-air talent. Let's bring your new or gently used coats to donate to Ziegler Subaru of Kenosha's annual coat drive. It's Brat Bowl 3, Friday, December 19th, starting at 9 a.m. at the iconic Brat Stop in Kenosha. Brought to you by Ziegler Subaru of Kenosha. For a great experience, visit ZieglerKenoshaSubaru.com. So we'll have 9 to noon there, Mason Crosby show there, and Wisconsin Sports Daily will all be there next Friday, December 19th at the Brat Stop. Looking forward to seeing you. So Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Up next, Green and Gold Update. It is that time again as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky, Pfeiffer, Charlie using other side. Charlie, you're seeing some reasons of what's going on with Sherrone Moore getting fired by Michigan.
So in a developing story also by Adam Schefter, it seems that an inappropriate relationship with the Michigan staffer is the reason for Moore's dismissal. Biff Poggi will take over as interim coach for now. I love Biff Poggi, man.
Biff Poggi been there for a minute, hasn't he?
A couple of years now. I wish he was at Wisconsin, man. He's like Ed Orgeron, basically.
Yeah.
Got the same vibe.
Yeah.
Just gonna tell you straight how it is.
And like I said before, I really want to see who is that next Michigan hire. Do they give it to Biff Poggi and go, here you go, buddy?
No,
go get it.
Not.
Probably not. No.
He'll stick around as like the all-time interim head coach. That's just what he does for them now.
He does. Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, let's get Green Gold update. All right, here we go. Matt LaFleur, he talked earlier today. And we played you some of what he said about Jordan Love and the consistency of Jordan Love and him essentially taking another step as we can see it here in year 3 as a starter. But he also talks about how offensive possession-wise, Packers are towards the bottom as far as just not getting a lot of cracks at, having the football and getting a lot of play attempts game to game throughout the year. And obviously, that hurts your chances of scoring a lot of points, even though they have been scoring quite a few points in their victories, 27 or more pretty much in every win. Here's LaFleur.
I mean, I try not to get too hung up on that. In regards to offensively, you're doing whatever you can do to try to score points. Defensively, you're doing whatever you can do to try to stop the opponent from scoring points. I think it's a little bit of a byproduct of kind of how teams have been playing us, quite frankly, in terms of just the number of rushes. I mean, every time that after a play, that clock's moving, time is ticking away and you're going to have less possessions. And then conversely, if you're having long drives on the offensive side, it's going to limit the number of possessions. So, but it's been kind of a weird year in that regard. It seems like there's like 4 possessions a half and you just got to try to maximize them.
So it's going to be more so opponents are trying to, quote unquote, take the air out of the ball to limit.
Well, I don't know necessarily if it's that. I think that's just, we've defended a ton of runs, and I think that's kind of a byproduct of our pass rush. And so they feel like that's the best way to attack us.
If there is concern about the opposing offense scoring a bunch of points, then clearly that's what you do. As was pointed out there, you just run the football and let that clock go and go and go, because what do you want? Less possessions for the other team. You could take that and go to pro basketball, college basketball, whatever. You go back to the Dick Bennett Badgers back in the day, or Green Bay when he was at coach Green Bay. What did they do, man? They passed that ball around for 10 minutes before they finally would take a shot. Why? Because the other team that was probably more athletic than they were and so forth would have less opportunities. And you gambled that you would make more shots, more 3-point shots and so forth back in the day than the other team would do. But you knew if it got into a track meet running up and down the floor, you were dead because you couldn't compete that way. So you took the air out of the ball on the basketball court. And I don't think it's any different from a football perspective, Charlie.
No, I don't think so. I think if you are at all worried about any team trying to be explosive against you, then what you have to do is keep them in front of you. And that's how the Packers defense runs a lot of their game plans, even when they are going up against these teams that are run focused. Their goal is to make sure you don't get those big plays. And usually that works out for them. It's just when their offense then on the other side is getting the same kind of treatment, when you're getting the Philadelphia Eagles who are out here trying to stuff you at the line of scrimmage and not letting you get those big plays, that's a struggle. And if you are going to run that type of defense, then you have to be prepared to try to find any way to get the ball in the air yourself too at the same time, especially against good teams.
The other thing that comes up about this Packers team is their ability to operate at the end of a half and their ability to operate coming out of a half. See this last game where you thought you had a chance to put the Bears away and no such luck. You did nothing but go 1-2-3 punt. And at the end of a half, Packer fans get mad at Matt LaFleur for the usage of timeouts and not taking better chances at the end of a half or whatever the case may be. So here's Matt LaFleur.
I think it's more how do we manage it from a coaching perspective more so than I just want our players to focus on. Obviously, you got to know situational football and what we're trying to get done in each situation, but I really want them to focus on the task at hand and just play the play to the best of your ability. And certainly in those critical moments, I mean, we talk about it every week. You know, we show stuff from around the league when teams, it shows up every week. There's positive and then there's some really bad stuff. And you try to stay off that tape because every team in the league does this, or most teams, I would say. And you always want to stay off the bad tape, but sometimes you find yourself there, unfortunately. But so you're constantly talking about all the situational stuff. But for us, I would say more so it's just how are we managing it from a coaching perspective.
All right, so this is the thing. There is what do you call a 6-minute offense or wherever, where you're trying to take the air out of the football so you have control of the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. The other team doesn't get the ball back. There is that. There has got to be something other than a 2-minute offense, what they would call a 4-minute offense or something along those lines. I don't know what you would call it, to end the half. But I think a lot of this comes back to play calling, working sidelines, doing that type of stuff at the end of a game or at the end of a half. That's what we're talking about. End of the first half, beginning of the second half. Or the opposite of maybe being a little too conservative, not wanting to turn over the ball in a big situation, wanting to have that lead going into half, not wanting to be down by more than you are. So maybe you don't get as aggressive at the end of a half.
Maybe, but I think for Matt LaFleur and what he's talking about in this clip here, I guess it's just that those 4 minutes on the end and then going into the second half, that 8 total minutes is where you get the most momentum in any of these games. And the Packers right now, so far this season, I don't think have been deterred by the momentum of other teams going in and coming out of the halves here. I think they've been more deterred by their own momentum stalling a little bit. Yes. And I think that's why he wants them to focus so hard on the moment in the situation and not about what the other team is doing and changing your whole offensive game plan in order to change what they are giving you on the defensive side of the ball. This is a situation where the Packers do have to focus on themselves and that you can't worry about what everybody else is worrying about in this moment.
And that's exactly right. And I get that as well. But that is something we talked about earlier where you want them to get off to faster starts. I think the other part of it too is finishing and starting halves. You also can get into that too. And again, I feel like to a degree we're being a little nitpicky here. And this team is averaging 27, 28 points in wins this year. So when they win, they're throwing up a bunch of points regardless of who they're playing at this point. And when you get Denver coming up on Sunday afternoon, 3:25 start, we'll have the Green Bay football postgame show powered by Lakeland University immediately following that. When you get into that stadium at that altitude, that's going to be a little bit different as far as breathing and so forth goes. And sometimes that takes a little air out of you, which means you need to get off to that good start.
Definitely. And I think especially against not only the atmosphere, but the team on the other sideline, they're going to be a squad that's defensively going to try to stuff you any way possible. Just like the Packers did last week against the Bears in that first drive. They're going to try to give you that same punch in the mouth type of defense right away. And you have to know that you have to focus on yourself and your momentum and not what they're trying to create.
And LaFleur talked about playing in Denver.
We had our performance staff talk to our players today, and there are certain things that you can do, but ultimately it is a circumstance, and you got to try to best prepare your body to go out there and handle the elements.
I'm not quite sure there's anything you can do. I don't think there's really anything you can do. But the one thing that you can prepare for is trying to play this Broncos defense, which is the league leader in sacks in the NFL, top 3, top 5 rush defense in the NFL, a formidable defense that they're going to have to deal with. LaFleur addressed that.
They do a great job. Vance does a hell of a job putting his guys in position, and they're just not really a weak link out there. When you look at their front, their backers, their back end, they've got players across the board. I mean, the sack numbers are pretty crazy. Their run defense is pretty crazy. So you couple that, then you got a legitimate shutdown corner. I think the safeties are excellent. McMillan does a great job. Moss does a great job. So they got a lot of great players, and they put them in great position, and they go out there and they play. I think there's a lot of similarities when I look at our defense in regards to the style of play, how hard they play, how hard they finish and tackle. And so it's going to be a great test for us.
Okay, so I agree with the test part of this going in. This can't be considered a trap game, however, because the Broncos have a 10-game winning streak and are sitting atop the AFC at this point. So even though the Bears are on the other side of this, you can't look at this and go, oh, it's a trap game, because you're looking ahead to that second game against the Bears. That's so important in this division to win this division. You have to have all attention front and center for this game and not worry about Chicago, Baltimore, Minnesota, and this thing. You got to focus right here. Now, in Chicago, we talked about this yesterday. Maybe they look past Cleveland a little bit, looking ahead to, we have got to win this game when they come down here to Chicago in a couple of weeks on that Saturday night primetime game. They may be in that situation. The Green Bay Packers cannot be in that situation right now with Denver.
After that loss to Cleveland in week 3, you can't put yourself in that position at all. I don't think the Panthers, the Steelers, any of these other games you want to talk about where they might have had stronger opponents on the other side were trap games at all either.
Right.
I think they went into those games with full attention because the Browns went out there and put them in their place with that defensive performance that they had. This is a situation where you're too late in the season and the Broncos are too good of a team to ever overlook them. And the Packers, just looking at the atmosphere and the landscape of the NFL right now, there are no trap games. Anybody can beat anybody. Even the worst teams in the league put up fights at least. This is a situation where you have to take this team very seriously, not only because they're a top 3 defense in the NFL, but because they're just a team in the NFL at this point.
I saved the best for last. Matt LaFleur, talking about when he wants to be aggressive with the play calling, when he wants to be more conservative. Because if we're being honest, a lot of you throughout the year have said, man, he's too conservative. Don't you trust Jordan Love? Open it up. Throw the damn football. Throw it downfield. Quit trying to run the ball when there's nothing there. I've heard that all year. Charlie's heard that all year. We've heard it all year on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, whether it be Inside Wisconsin Sports, weekday mornings from 6 to 9, whether it be 9 to noon with John Kuhn and Rami Makloff, noon to 2 with Mason Crosby and Mitch Thunder Nellis, or this show. I've heard it all year, people complaining about his play calling. Let the coach explain it.
I think it's all the flow of the game. I think a lot of that will come into play. I think generally speaking, we want to be aggressive. I know that doesn't always come to fruition, again, based on the flow of the game, but typically that's how we like to operate.
So in the term of the flow of the game at the end of the half, where you're starting the third quarter with the ball last week, are you just, no matter what, the Bears are not touching it here again, even if you got to settle for the 3, you want to not give that extra possession?
Well, we actually did give them the extra possession because we scored too quick. But so they got the extra possession there at the end of the half. Is that what you're referring to?
I mean, you'll take the 7 and give them 30 seconds, I'm sure. But is that in your mind as far as, okay?
It is. And sometimes it's hurt us, to be honest with you, because you're always thinking, I don't want to kick off, and I don't want to put our defense back out there. But that was a situation. Every game's a little bit different, but we actually ran the same play back to back, just a little bit differently. We saw that they dropped Christian Watson, and then the next play dialed it up again, and Bo was running free. So, but I would say every game's a little bit different in regards to how you're going to attack and, just the flow of the game.
I think it changes depending on every coach, right? Those coaches that have that aggressive gambling personality, Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, it doesn't matter what the heck the game is doing, what's going on in the game. Like, their mentality is always the same. They don't waver. This is who we are. We're always going to be aggressive, regardless of the game situation. LaFleur doesn't want to be in that situation. LaFleur says, I play it by ear, kind of play it by gut. We'll kind of see where we're at, and then that'll determine whether or not I want to go for it in 4th down and so forth. So he really, I don't want to say he's wishy-washy on this whole thing, but he more plays it by feel, where some of these other guys are just straight up overly aggressive and do not care about what else is going on because they believe that works more than it doesn't.
Well, and if you're going to play it by feel, you have to make sure that your team understands that's your goal too, and that they're okay playing that style of football too.
Especially the defense.
Exactly. And I think Jeff Hafley has instilled this mentality in the defense that aligns with what Matt LaFleur wants to do. I think that's part of the reason they work so well together. And then on the other side of things, Jordan Love seems like he's bought into that kind of mentality of just going with the flow and being able to do anything in any situation. And it's starting to come to fruition in that offense like he's talking about.
Charlie, using there. See Sparky Fiver here. When the Bucks win, you win at Wendy's. After every Bucks win, stop by any participating Wisconsin Wendy's for a free small vanilla or chocolate frosty classic. No purchase necessary. This offer is only good for 24 hours after a win. So act fast. Get that free small frosty classic today at Wendy's. Rich Paul, famous NBA agent, confidant, friend of LeBron James. He's made himself into like the lead mega NBA agent around. Doing a podcast with Max Kellerman. Remember Max Kellerman? He used to be on ESPN.
He was awesome.
Big boxing guy, calling boxing fights and so forth. So Kellerman has surfaced doing this deal with Rich Paul. They got into talking about the situation with Giannis and Milwaukee, and Rich Paul got into talking about what he'd want back if he were Milwaukee, if they get forced into having to trade Giannis. We'll let you hear what he says and see if we agree or not. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. Sparky here. Charlie using other side of the glass. Still to come, Think Sparky Miss, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. Plus, we'll talk with Charlie Larson of the Admirals coming up at about 4:40, 4:45 or so. I want to talk about this podcast that's out there now called Game Over. I think it's just started. I don't know how many episodes. I think that was one, right?
First time one. I've heard sound from it. So
first one, right? So it is Max Kellerman. And it is Rich Paul, mega NBA agent that's got his hands in everything. Now, having said that, Rich Paul does not have his hands in Giannis. That much we do know. He does not represent Giannis. He does not have any connection to Giannis that I know of. Do you know of any connection of him?
Not that I can think of. Maybe that he just represents some of Giannis's friends.
Maybe, but I mean, from
That's
that, but
yeah.
there's no relation. There's nothing like that to the family. There's nothing.
Nope.
So Max Kellerman and Rich Paul get into talking about the Bucks and Giannis, the situation, and if they end up having to trade him, what Rich Paul would be looking back for in return if he was trading Giannis.
With Giannis, it has to be, it doesn't necessarily have to be a star because you're not getting a star back per se.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Let me say, you're not getting a star back to the level of a Giannis.
You're not getting an MVP caliber.
You're not getting
back.
Luka. You're not
back.
getting Jokic. You're not getting Shea. You're not.
You might get an all-star.
You can get an all-star back.
Right.
You can get an all-star back. If I'm the Bucks, I'm looking at young player, high character, high talent, high IQ, assets, and maybe some, ancillary guys that could.
The next Tyrese Maxey before anyone knows quite how good he is.
Fair.
Who is that?
I mean, I'm calling Atlanta.
Right.
I'm calling Atlanta, and I want Jalen Johnson.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
He's from Milwaukee.
If you got him in the trade, I could believe that could happen.
But because that's a guy who you can see, and I'm not just saying.
Yeah.
By the way, you didn't even know that I represent Jalen Johnson.
Right. Correct.
So that's not I'm not Mr. Bias right now. I'm just giving you a real.
Because sometimes you will be Mr. Bias.
I'll be Mr. Bias.
And Kellerman went on to talk about we should get you a Mr. Bias hat. You can just put it on whenever you decide to go on that role of representing your guys or whatever. We talked about this on this show when Trae Young's name came up, and I was like, I don't want Trae Young. I want Jalen Johnson. That's who I want. If they're getting something back in that deal with Atlanta, I want Jalen Johnson. So it's nice to hear Rich Paul, even though he represents Jalen Johnson, to agree with and say, yes, that's what he wants. But he also talked about the other things that come back, which is you gotta have to get draft picks back. There has to be a boatload of ones of some sort coming back in this deal. The other part of this is that in order for any team to trade for him with 1 year left on his deal next year and then a player op, if I'm trading for Giannis, you're going to agree to an extension before we make this deal. If I'm talking to John Horst and the Bucks, it's like, hey man, okay, I'll give you what you want, but I need him to agree to an extension that's going to be signed when he gets here immediately. Otherwise, I can't make this deal. I mean, I can make a deal, but it's going to be a third of what you want me to give you if I'm only renting him for a year, or if, God forbid, he gets moved to the deadline. I can't see that happening. But that's all it's going to be. You're not going to get nearly as much back versus I got him locked up now, I know, for another 5 years or whatever. Man, that extension, he's going to be making like $70 million a year, guys. 70, 75, whatever it is. Oh, my goodness. Good luck to you. I hope he stays healthy in the playoffs for you. But, I mean, that is what this is going to come down to. And the leverage, any leverage the Bucks have, is going to come from whether or not Giannis is going to be willing to play ball with wherever they want to send him. Because if he goes, nah, I don't want to play in Atlanta, then the Bucks are going to be like, nah, sorry, you can't sign an extension, but you can rent for a year and a half. That ain't going to be enough time to get Atlanta to the promised land to win a championship with what they have left. Secondly, most of these teams that you're going to trade with, they're going to have to give up half your damn roster in order to get Giannis there. How many of those teams are going to go win a championship after they give up half the roster to get Giannis anyhow at the end of the day?
I mean, off the top of my head, I can only think of 3 teams right now that I think have enough pieces on their roster to go and do that. That's 2 teams that I've always named with Giannis, Oklahoma City and San Antonio.
And Oklahoma City has no reason to because they're a dynasty. They're killing everybody. They look unstoppable.
It's crazy.
Yes.
And then San Antonio, I think you also want to see what you have there too. You have a lot of young players that you just drafted that are playing well as well when they're healthy. So that's a situation where it'd be a little rushed to take that jump. The last team on my mind is the Orlando Magic. That's a team that's playing better as of late. Now they've gotten this kind of groove going with that team. Eastern Conference is pretty wide open at this moment. That's the problem, though. You're trading him then within the Eastern Conference to a team that is going to be competing for the next future of that team. You get like Franz Wagner in return.
So let's talk about that for a second. Again, we have no idea this is going to happen, but let's just talk about a couple things. I saw a thing earlier today talking about how the Warriors have always liked Miles Turner. I've always wanted Miles Turner. It's been a guy that fits with what they want to do. And Kuminga, that would be something that would line up. Now, Kuminga would be that young piece that would get his chance to go be that guy that I think he desperately wants to be in Milwaukee. So you could essentially move Miles Turner in one deal for whatever you get back for Turner, and then essentially move Giannis in a separate deal to get back whatever you get for Giannis. From that perspective, Charlie, I don't care where they trade him. I don't care if it's East or the West. You want to know why? Because you're going to stink for a long time. So it doesn't matter to me if he goes in the East or if he goes to the West. Now, from a personal feeling standpoint, no, I don't want him anywhere near a Jimmy Butler team for sure, because I don't want Jimmy Butler to win anything. So that's one. And then after that, I don't know who else I would want him away from. Boston, I guess. I don't like the Celtics.
Indiana.
Yes. Not with Halliburton. Thank you. You're right.
You're welcome.
And I don't want Halliburton back from either, so we can stop there too. But I mean, from that perspective, but that's just my personal feelings. You can't operate like that when you're John Horst. You've got to go into this going, I don't care who the team is. We're not going to be good anyhow. So this is going to be a complete rebuild. It's going to be 3 or 4 years at least before we can talk about even being a top 5 or top 6 seed. So I don't care where he goes. I just got to make sure I get picks. But when you do the deal, right, you go for it. It can't be once from the team you're giving Giannis to. There's got to be a third team that isn't good, that you're getting 1 or 2 of those ones to put you in a position to get lottery picks out of this. It can't be straight up with Indiana, and then, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals every year, and you're picking at the end of the first round. What good does that do me? That doesn't do me any good. I need a couple of bad teams to be involved in this to help get you those picks.
Which shouldn't be too hard. I feel like there's enough bad teams that we're already hearing rumors about shopping their players. I mean, Charlotte is always willing to give up picks and find ways to try to rebuild that team as fast as possible. That never works out. Memphis is a team that's struggling right now that wants to move on from a John Morant. So if they can find some 3-team trade that gets John Morant going somewhere too and give some picks to Milwaukee, that could be an option. I mean, there's lots of teams out there that should be willing to play ball with the Bucks and one other team.
We brought up the Celtics. I don't have a hat on, but hat tip, respect, whatever you want to say. Joe Mazzulla's doing a hell of a job,
He's a
man.
good coach.
Joe Mazzulla.
He's a weirdo, but he's a good coach.
Yeah, he's a little weird. But he is doing a heck of a job, man. I don't know if y'all been paying attention to the run they've been on. They've been on a run. They're shooting a bunch of threes, which is the Mazzulla way, but they're making everybody shoot threes. They're protecting the rim. They're playing solid defense. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly the formula the Bucks said they were going to do this season. What they're very successful at without Jason Tatum, what they're very successful with right now is the exact same way that Doc Rivers said he wanted his team to play. They don't look anything like the Boston Celtics right now.
Well, Miles Turner was supposed to be a younger, more athletic Brook Lopez, so an all-defensive style player, because that's what Brook Lopez was. AJ Green, according to Doc Rivers, was taking a huge step as a defensive wing, was supposed to get closer to what you had in a Chris Middleton, potentially. I mean, both the young point guards are so scrappy.
There's
and
no way he's Chris Middleton.
They're so scrappy, and they're supposed to be able to get a ton of steals, and then one of them can't stay on the court, and the other one is just kind of gone on defense at this point in the season. I mean, nobody wants to play that part of the game. Joe Mazzulla's got his guys to play that part of the game.
Let's talk about some terms that we use, right, in sports. Scrappy. That means you're not uber talented, but you try hard. Has a big motor. That's another one, right? Again, that's a try hard thing. That's not a talent. That just means you try hard to get after it. That doesn't mean you're uber skilled or anything like that. Every time I hear a couple of these things, it's like, okay, he's not really all that good, but he plays hard, so they like him. Because not everybody plays hard in professional sports, and that's why what attracts you to these guys at the end of the day. Now, playing hard could also mean something completely different than playing sport. You could be playing hard at the Potawatomi Casino and Hotel, right? A little poker, a little blackjack, a little roulette, Potawatomi Sportsbook going on. All of that there for you. Fine dining restaurants everywhere. Got the beautiful hotel that you can stay in for a couple nights, whatever you want. That's where Crosby stays. That's where John Kuhn stays. That's where all those guys stay when they come into town. Perfect. Then they've got game day shuttles that'll take you to and from Bucks home games at Fiserv Forum. On top of everything else, they got a free parking garage. Costs you nothing, protects you from the snow and the elements and all of that stuff. Now, how do you get on the shuttle? Well, same game day wager. Ask for your bracelet after you make the wager. Again, same day. Or just make a purchase inside the Potawatomi Sportsbook, ask for your bracelet, and you can get on that way too. 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, homemade desserts and pastries, all day brunch going on as well, plus all kinds of great different food options, burgers, wings, salads, wraps, John Kuhn platter, you name it. They got it all going on right there at Potawatomi. These shuttles leave 1.5 hours before the games when they start going back and forth. They return starting at the beginning of the third quarter. For more information, simply go to Potawatomi.com. Coming up next, Think Sparky Miss, brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals. Charlie Larson of the Admirals. Straight ahead, and I got a little ditty for him coming up. Not, I probably shouldn't use ditty. A little tune for you coming up next. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily. How are y'all doing? See Sparky Fiver here. Charlie, use it over there. I'm just entertaining Charlie, going through all this old sound that I found. Like, all right, Charlie, guess this. Okay, Charlie, guess this. That could be fun to do as a weekly segment. All right, guess who this is saying that. I got some really good ones.
There were some great ones.
Some really good ones, right? So, like, Brett Bielema here, for instance, when he was the Arkansas coach. Check this out.
We'll do that a little bit. I'm just looking forward to hopping on the wife. Hopping on the plane. Hopping on the plane with my wife. I can't believe I just said that. I looked right up at you and I said, hopping on the plane with my wife, flying back to Fayetteville. I'm out. You're up. Peace.
That was good. Another one from Bielema.
He's got an incredible ass, really big in size, and the defensive line play. That's good.
Come on, man.
It is good. He's not wrong.
I know, but
like coaches say that all the time. They're like, because you got a defensive lineman got to stick his butt into the other guy to create the gap and everything. It's a real deal thing.
Is that why they recruited you, Charlie? Boy, oh
I was
boy.
an offensive lineman. I was lean, Sparky. I wasn't bowling ball-esque, you know.
Bowling ball-esque. Oh my goodness, let's go. All right, let's get to it. Our guest hotline. Well, technically, guest line. He's on X and YouTube. You can see Charlie Larson's face right now from the Milwaukee Admirals at WI Sports Radio on X and YouTube. He joins us as he does each and every Wednesday. Once in a while, we'll get John Greenberg. We had Greenberg last week at the Toy Drive for a half hour, which was awesome. Had a lot of fun talking to the president of the Milwaukee Admirals, but we have fun talking to Charlie too. Charlie, how are we doing today, buddy?
I'm great, Sparky. That I enjoyed those Brett Bielema clips. I'm gonna have to tune in after this to hear more coaches saying stupid things. I've heard my fair share of stupid things over the years.
Okay, so speaking of that, how about this one?
Are you inducing me to sing? That's what are you trying to get me to sing? Because I will. I'll karaoke anytime without any alcohol. Anytime.
I want to drive the Zamboni. I didn't even know I even had that song.
Oh, yeah.
We have a little snippet of I Want to Drive the Zamboni. I don't think I've ever heard y'all even play that at Admirals
Sparky,
game.
how many Admirals games have you been to in your life? It's probably triple digits.
Yeah, a lot. Yes.
Okay, so you're just not paying attention because we play that song every freaking game because every game. I mean, I think maybe not every game, but close.
All right. I'm coming January 21st, I believe it is. We're coming. So yeah, I'll be there. I'll pay attention and we'll see if I hear the Zamboni. When they go around on the ice, you don't play it then though, do you?
Oh yeah, because you show people. We used to have a fake Zamboni, and it's like you're pretending you're driving the thing, and
right, yeah,
yeah. So they do that. I think, and Mike Wojciechowski would have to clarify this, but I think Lloyd Pettit loved that song so much that he spent thousands of dollars to go into a studio so he could sing that song and record it.
Oh, get out of here! Really?
Yes. But when you have so much money, you don't know what to do with. You do things like that.
I wouldn't know. Nor would
Yeah,
you,
I know.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably true. Absolutely. All right. So what's the latest on the Milwaukee Admirals? How are we doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. You know what? We lost first losing streak of the year. We lost a couple games in Chicago last weekend. But you know that's going to happen. It's a long season. A team who has not had a losing streak, we play tonight, Grand Rapids. They've won 19 of their first 21 games. So we're going to try and knock them down a peg. And then we're in GR tonight. Grand Rapids, also great city if you've ever been there. Really nice city. And we come back home tomorrow, bus back around the lake tonight. Hopefully don't get any lake effect snow. In Rockford Friday, Saturday night, 6 o'clock against Chicago. The Wolves, we got to get some revenge. It's going to be heated. And everybody gets a first 4,000 fans get an Admirals T-shirt courtesy of Gruber Law with game on, gloves off is what it says on it, and I think that probably might be the case on Saturday night.
Have you ever done any antagonistic type T-shirts towards the opposing team that you're playing on a given night? Like back in the day, back before Charlie was born, like 2006, 2007, whatever it was. Were you born then?
I was born in 2001. Thank you very much.
There you go, 2001. Okay, so he was born. So back in the day, we used to have T-shirts for our station that says the Windy City Blows or something like that, and we'd hand out T-shirts. We'd have the station logo and all that. You're playing the Wolves. Like, this seems like a perfect opportunity to take your shot if you want to. Have you guys ever done that, going at the other team that you're playing on a T-shirt giveaway night?
We haven't. We've kicked around handing out Chicago Wolves toilet paper, right?
Okay.
You wouldn't want the Admirals logo on the toilet paper.
Well, you've heard about McCaskey for the Bears. Have you heard that story?
No.
So there's a story that I've heard from multiple people that, you know how, like, when you're a dude and you go into a urinal and they got like those what do they call them, urinal cakes or whatever that are on the ground in the urinal, right? That apparently he's got ones with the Packers logo on it or whatever, and will randomly drop them in urinals all over Chicago wherever he goes somewhere.
That's guerrilla marketing. I love it. I love that. I wish we had. I wish we had thought of it. And next time we have a staff meeting, I'm going to bring that up, and I'm going to claim that it's my idea.
Yes.
I don't give any credit. So we haven't really given anything out, but we do some skits. Roscoe will pour water on a guy or put a pie in his face that he's dressed up as a Wolves fan or something like that.
Yeah, that's fun. That's all good stuff. And then fast forward, because you don't have a lot of games in December after this Saturday. Then it's the 27th. And then my guy who made a song about me years and years ago, and he probably doesn't remember it anymore, Pat McCurdy, always a fun time to go watch Pat McCurdy perform.
He made a song about you? That's the song you should have been playing, not the Zamboni song. The Pat McCurdy Sparky song.
Yeah, I don't know. We were on remote, like out in the Muskego area, I want to say, at a bar, and he was performing that night and did a song on my big fat head. So that's pretty much what it was. Yeah.
You know what's funny to me about Pat is he's obviously really good and really talented, but I've been with the Admirals for a long time, 25 years, right? And so the people that were coming to see Pat when I first started are now coming to see Pat still, but they're bringing their kids.
Yep.
It's intergenerational that he's created fans, and that's really a credit to. And I mean, how many people have heard the song "Sex and Beer"? Every person in Milwaukee, right?
Correct. Yes. We have to introduce it around the rest of the state, but yes, I would agree.
Yeah, right, for sure. The whole state, the whole Midwest, and so it's like. I just think of that, like, these people are here with their kids and everyone's just screaming sex and beer. Would I want to be doing that with my dad? I'm not sure, but it's a good time. It's so much fun. And he's hilarious. He just knows how to work the crowd, and he's so talented. It's a blast.
One of everybody's favorites promotions are coming up at the end of the month as well. That's Cowbell Night with the Potawatomi Casino Hotel Cowbell Night. That comes up on Tuesday, December 30th.
I love cowbell nights. I love anything that makes noise. So we do the cowbells with Potawatomi every year. A bunch of years ago, you remember the vuvuzelas? We gave those out one year. That our owner, Harris Tur, will never allow that to happen again, but I loved them. I thought they were hilarious. Our players don't love the cowbells quite as much. They're pretty loud. And,
they're very loud. I was there last year for it. Yes.
Yeah. But I love them. And they're great, right? Cowbells, we turned into the Milwaukee Cowbells last year, right? Cowbells are a uniquely hockey thing.
Didn't you set a record for the most people ringing a cowbell at once or something like that last year?
We sure did last year. Yeah, absolutely. We beat out Mississippi State that had set the record in like 2003 or something like that. So that was pretty exciting for us, because the cowbells, like, that's tradition. It's what we do. It's what you ring. And so it's awesome to do this every year.
MilwaukeeAdmirals.com for more ticket information when the next games are coming up. I'll tell you, the next game is coming up this Saturday night against the Wolves. T-shirt giveaway night as well. Hope to see everybody there coming up on the 13th. Charlie Larson, thanks so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
Sparky, thanks for having me. Have a great night.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Charlie Larson of the Milwaukee Admirals on our guest line, I guess I'll call in. Powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. A couple of minutes left to go here in the show for more of the things that we may have missed on today's show. Charlie, I guess I'm kind of curious a little bit on your side of the world, because we talk about you as a Bears fan, okay?
Right.
And we talk about you as a Cubs fan, okay, fine. But we don't ever really bring up the Bulls aspect with you and kind of where your head's at with them. We're always talking about Giannis getting traded and not getting traded, all that. And then Rami's on 9 to Noon talking about they should trade him to the Bulls.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely insanity. But because they don't have the assets to make that work. But
you don't want Josh Giddey? You can have him.
No, I don't. No. But what is going on with that train wreck of an organization?
It's the same thing that's been going on for the past 10 seasons for the Chicago Bulls. On the court, they still can't play defense. It's atrocious. Yep. Josh Giddey is currently the only player that actually kind of does something. And half the nights he doesn't even do anything that productive. He's very Bobby Portis-esque, where he can put up like 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, but then you really look at the game and watch the game or look at his advanced stats, and it just is not there. Like, he doesn't look like a star player. And then the rest of the team, again, just feels like unmotivated. A lot of these guys are young players that just don't seem like they have standard roles within this team, and I think that's throwing them off a lot. And a guy like Nikola Vucevic, who is their starting center, is frustrated that a lot of these guys aren't buying into their roles, but it's hard to buy into your role when you don't have a role with this team.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you on that, and I just wanted to poke fun at Charlie, because I never really poke fun at the Bulls, because I feel like you just feel bad for Bulls fans because of how bad it's been for so long. Kevin Porter Jr. talked at practice today about this Giannis distraction and all these Giannis reports. Eric Name had this quote, this is the last thing I'm going to say on false information. At the end of the day, everyone needs to wait until Giannis says something, because all this is just he say, she say. And I guarantee when we start winning, we go 8-0, 9-0. You won't see nothing about the Bucks. You won't see, the Bucks are 8-0 or 9-0. They're flourishing. And Giannis says, we're not going to see any of that positive news. So at least for me, this is the last time I'm going to answer anything false from Kevin Porter Jr. They're going to get asked about it. It's not going to stop. They may stop with Eric Dave and Ozarski asking questions, but when you go on the road to New York or LA or whatever, all of these guys and girls are all going to be asking you about Giannis, and the national media too.
And I don't know, as an NBA player, why you don't think that would happen. Like, why you think this would just stop all of a sudden when you say something like that. This is the biggest story of the NBA season right now. Nobody really cares about the Oklahoma City Thunder going 23-1 because Giannis Antetokounmpo is apparently on the trade block.
That's absolutely correct. No doubt about it. He is Charlie Usen over there. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer here with you as well. If you missed any of today's show, well, I have good news for you. You can go to wisportsradio.com, get any of your favorite shows in podcast form, or you can download it wherever you download and listen to your favorite podcast. Also, can always go back and watch on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. You can find us there as well. Thanks to Jason B. Hirschhorn, the co-founder of the League Newsletter, talking Packers and Broncos in the second hour of the show. Of course, Charlie Larson there. Coming up next, Wisconsin sports wrap-up. Doug Gottlieb, Green Bay Phoenix head coach, was on for almost a half hour this morning, and it was amazing. Him talking about his chair rolling, throwing, the force. All this stuff came up today. You'll want to stay tuned because you'll hear that in its entirety coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Enjoy the rest of your night, Wisconsin. Toodles.